Everyone watching, it's lovely to still have you with us. Thank you ever so much for joining us for Time Space Visualizer. I am joined now by a very, very big Who luminary, certainly a huge part of Doctor Who when I was growing up, and I'm incredibly lucky to be interviewing Nicola Bryant. Lovely to see you. How are you, Nicola?
Hello. I'm good, thank you. How are you doing, Andy?
Not too bad, not too bad. Trying to not to go too stir crazy, but you know, it's for the good of us all. That's what we have to keep thinking, isn't it?
Exactly.
Although it's typically British that it would be the sunniest possible days of the year when we all have to be locked inside. But you know, we need to stick with it. Behave yourselves, everyone at home, okay? So you're doing all right?
I'm doing all right, and there's a little one just here in my arms.
Hello.
Because whenever I'm at the desk, she's normally on my lap. So she got a bit distressed that I was shutting myself in here.
It's the best way. Pets are a good bit of company on days like these.
They're amazing. They're amazing.
So how are you getting on in these slightly odd times in which we find ourselves?
I'm handling the stress well. I'm okay. I lived a huge hunk of my life, I think, that must have seemed exactly the same as being in isolation on my own. So I'm quite good in my own company. However, I've got my mum with me, which I'm very relieved about, because I've been taking care of her for a few years now, and she was very ill and they couldn't work out what it was. And then finally they found out she had cancer. She's just finished chemo, so she's super, super vulnerable, as well as being 89.
Yes.
And if you see a little shadow walking very slowly past the door, that's probably my mum. Rattling trolley.
But she's doing all right with you.
She's doing all right, and the chemo went well, and we are lucky enough to have room for her. All our plans, though, furniture that was due to arrive, none of that's come because everything's cancelled. And so she's not quite where she thought she'd be, but we're doing well. We're doing very well.
It's all in make, do and mend at the moment, isn't it?
It is, absolutely, absolutely. Oh, somebody's trying to get in. Hello.
Love that. It's like a live Blue Peter broadcast with these lovely animals.
Yes, darling.
So we are here, obviously, to have a chat about all sorts of things, not least of which your time on Doctor Who. Let's go from the very beginning. Initially, how did you hear about the part being available?
I was just finishing drama school, and I had my final show, which was my least favourite of all the shows that we were showcasing,
right?
Because it was a musical. And
just what it was.
Yeah, it was No Net.
Okay.
And because it was a musical, I had extra knots in my stomach, because the idea of performing in musicals is like, I love music, happy to sing at home, don't really want to do it on stage.
Fair enough.
And the interesting thing was that at the time, my partner, my boyfriend, was a Broadway musical star. So when I came home, it's a musical, it's No Net. You know, I said, I'm going to be third bucket and spade in a really ugly bathing costume at the back of the chorus, because
wow,
at my school, Weber Douglas, you had to get a singing tutorial, and you had to audition for those every year, and I auditioned every year, and I didn't qualify in any level, because you either had to be, you know, born with the voice beautiful,
yep,
or tone deaf. Great. No, you didn't all get musical lessons, only one of those two categories. And I wasn't born with the voice beautiful. I wasn't destined for musicals. So I didn't get it. I can sing in tune, but, you know, you're not going to write rave reviews about my voice. You know, that was all right. And, but also I've got pretty much kind of tuned pitch as a musician, and so I didn't qualify as the tone deaf, we better try and give you a bit more of a musical ear actor.
Got you.
So I auditioned every year, got in a terrible state about it every year, didn't get any coaching every year, and just went, oh, it's a musical, this one's not for me.
Yeah.
And my very wise partner said, okay, so, Nicola, if this was a straight play, which part would you audition for? Well, Nanette, obviously.
Of course.
Because that would be the part that I'm actually also, looking at the script, I was most suited to play.
Yeah.
So he said, well, just do it. And I went, but, you know, and all the language of, but I don't have a good voice, but I've never had a singing tutorial, but they'll never cast me because I don't have a singing, you know, but. And the interesting thing was they decided to give us the real sense of auditions before we left the school, to hold proper auditions rather than just pinning the cast up on the board, which is what really happened. And so they hired an outside director to come and audition us all. And so we had to do singing auditions, dancing auditions, acting auditions. And the singing auditions we had to do in front of each other.
Oh.
How much worse could they make it?
Oh, golly, yeah.
So, whereas the acting ones were done in a separate room, and I just kind of got up because I had nothing to lose, only third bathing costume from the back. So he'd been coaching me for a few weeks on my songs, which, if any of you know the score of No, 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 it's a difficult score. Really difficult one. Almost like deliberately designed to give your singer nightmares. But I just thought, I've got nothing to lose. And I just walked up because no one was expecting anything. No one was barely even looking at me. Oh, it's Nicola. Well, yeah. All the people with their singing tutorials had come to the front and were belting it out. The only belt I've ever done is the one that possibly goes around my waist. And I just thought, give it your best. It's all you can do. And somehow I ended in a little chill zone. And I did it, and I thought, oh, that went quite well. For me, that was good. That was okay. And a few people were kind of sitting there going, and I thought, oh, maybe it went better than I thought. But, you know, I thought it fitted into the quite well category, for which I was quite proud. And
you were happy with what you'd managed to
achieve? I was happy. I was like, let's just get this whole thing over with. And I was on school, and I will never have to do that again. Which segues nicely to pantomime, but there we go. John Nathan. But anyway, and then, you know, a few days later, the names were posted on the board, and I'd got the lead.
Wow.
And it was the best and worst thing to happen.
Yes.
I got it. I was thrilled. I got it. Everyone hated me. And I suddenly felt, and I did, I came home every night from rehearsals and just cried and cried. I was pathetic. And crying is not tension's not very good for the voice. No. So I wasn't doing my best. I think the director was wondering who he'd cast. I started to get a cold because your whole systems run down. I was so stressed, and the whole thing was feeling like a complete disaster. And I wished I'd never done quite well on that day. Yeah. And of course, then all the tutorial teachers didn't like me very much either because they've been coaching people. It was like a whole world of, oh my goodness, is this what the business is really like?
Yeah.
And at that point, I decided I couldn't become an actor.
Wow. Okay.
Because I knew I just didn't have the stomach for this, or the backbone, or whichever part of my body was needing to function better.
Absolutely.
I was not coping with it. And the words too sensitive have been thrown at me many times by people, but I don't believe in the too sensitive. But I just was not coping with it at all. In the end, I gave myself lots of self-talk and stuck posters all over the place, just going, you can do this, you got this, come on, girls. It's only like a week in drama school. It's a week of performances, 4 days. And I was just like, you can do it, you can do it. I got through it. The very interesting thing about it was of course, we did the American school. Now that I didn't think twice about, speaking with American accent, doddle. My partner was American anyway. It was easy peasy. That was the only bit I gave no thought to. And there was an agent who was William Hartnell's son-in-law, sitting in the audience. And it was yet to come across his desk, the Doctor Who information, but he made a particular note about me because he thought I had something about me, and he wrote American next to my name because he thought everybody else was doing an accent and he thought I was a genuine American.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So drama school finishes, we all pack up. It's a week. I've only been out of drama school, less than a week. And the phone goes, and it's an agent telling me he's got an audition for me as an American. And he saw me in the show, and, you know, it's for Doctor Who, and he thinks I'd be perfect. And of course, I don't think it's an agent. I think it's a friend playing a prank.
Yes, of course.
Because that doesn't happen in real life. So I was just like, get off the phone, Gary. Yeah. Get off the phone. It's a good voice. Good voice.
Yeah.
Very good old man, I'm saying to the agent.
Brilliant.
And I just didn't believe it was for real. And then eventually, after about the third phone call, he said, no, genuinely, this is my number. You can call me back.
Oh, how marvellous.
And that started the long story of the long auditions of becoming a part of Doctor Who.
Do you know how many?
He was the son-in-law of William Hartnell. Just kind of felt like this is really spooky.
Yeah.
And it was not the description either, because it said tall Californian blonde. And he said, ignore that bit. He said, it's a quality that I've seen in you that I think they will see. So let's go for it. Yeah.
So do you know how many they saw? How many tall Californian blondes did they see?
Possibly quite a lot. I don't know. I know the auditions went on for months.
Right.
I know they refused to see anyone British.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So hang on, were you pretending that whole time?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and his deal was, you get the part, you've got an agent. You don't get the part, never mind.
Okay.
I'm not going to take you on.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, okay, fine. You know, and it was exactly really a repeat of the audition for No No Nanette, because I was like, if I get it, great. I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
I was terribly relaxed all through the beginning. Wasn't stressing me. And it was only when they realized, because they said, you know, we're down to 2 people now. The problem is, because don't forget, this was the early 1980s, you don't have an equity card.
Right. Oh, of course. Yes.
You couldn't work without one.
Absolutely.
So they said, we're going to give you 3 months to try and get out there and get yourself an equity card.
Gosh, and that in those times was really that's a narrow window. That really is.
Yeah, and they said if you can do it, the part's yours. If you can't, we're going with second choice.
Wow.
So you know, this is already turning out to be a deeply pressured journey. Just
and you're already pretending to be an American, and now you have to go.
Never mind all that.
3 months getting an equity card. Presumably, you managed that. So, what did those 3 months consist of?
It consisted of me doing the only thing I could do. I thought, how do I get in? I can't convince a rep to give me their one card when I'm actually also going to be unavailable. Mm. So that used to be the only way in. There were 2 or 3 good repertory companies who would give 1 card a year. I mean, that's how closed it was. So the only way in was through Variety, yet again, my favourite means.
Of course.
Then you would have to pay for copyright of any music you were using. So I couldn't afford to do that. So I used my own stuff.
But hey, look, if it works, it works.
So I had written songs. I've been writing songs for many years, and I went to pubs and clubs. I'm talking about my wine bar round the corner, which only sat 6 people.
Yes. If it's getting you that card.
And I went, could I come and perform here? And they were like, you know, there's a kid they're looking at too. And I said, I've got songs. And said, all right, get on the piano, play me a song. Of course, this is the stuff that most chokes me up. This is the stuff that gets me most nervous. But I did it. And he went, you're not bad. I like that song. Not really what we're looking for, but I was prepared. I had brought the equity handbook. I had bought and brought the equity handbook of how to write your own contract.
Yep.
So I'd written up a contract, and I think it was like the princely sum of £25 they had to pay me, because it had to add up to enough money you were making to get your card. So I said, this is what I need from you. I will pull pints. I will work behind the bar for free, and I'll sing you a couple of my songs. But I need this contract signed so that I can do this thing that I can't talk to you about.
Yes. Yes. How heavily were you able to lean on that and say, look, it's a thing, I can't tell you, but it's really big and I need your help?
I wonder how many times people must say that stuff. But I was just kind of like, no, really big. No, you'd know it. It's something you would know. But I can't say. And bless, there was only one person who turned me down, and I managed to find 4 places who would take me. And I sang for them in all of them, and played my own music, which I got a couple of bits of nice feedback. I thought, don't worry, I'll never be doing this again. I sent my contracts in, and Equity said, yeah, you're up for review. And I was saying, please, this is really important. And then Equity rang me to say, and I was due to call John Nathan Turner on the Friday, because they did their things at the end of the week, and I had to tell him, and this had taken me the 3 months.
Yeah.
If I had a card or not. And they rang me to say, sorry, we didn't have time.
Admin error or something. I mean, that's crazy.
It ran out of time, love. We'll look at you next month.
Sorry, what?
Yes. No, I'm always a bit slow on my reactions, in the terms of that my head might be like something out of Ally McBeal. My mouth is in very polite mode, And still at my age, I'm still just reaching the point where I'm beyond that. So I was just kind of like, oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh my.
And that's all I could do. And then I put the phone down, and I was crying, and I was walking about, pacing around in my little flat going, what do I do? What is it? Okay. Then I rang up Equity, and again, I went, right, okay. So here's the deal. You can't do this to me.
Yeah.
You're about to wreck my life. And if you wreck my life, I'm going to have to go to the papers. And I'm going to have to tell them my story about how I was the number 1 choice for this huge show, and you took it away from me. Because I'm going to need the money they're going to pay me for that story, because you've just done me out in the club.
Wow.
I'll just put you on hold. And they came back and they went, okay, they're going to specially look at it for you this afternoon. We will call you back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they called me back. I got it.
Yes.
I called Jonathan Turner. He was meanwhile. I mean, if we'd had WhatsApp, we'd have been WhatsApping each other every second, going, what's happening? But we didn't. I had to ring BBC, ask for extension. I told him what had happened, and I said, hopefully I'll know. Because, he had another agent online with another client and all this stuff. So, I'm exhausted just telling this story. I need a break now. So that's how eventually I ended up being a tall blonde Californian.
I'll tell you what, if I had a prize for the Doctor Who companion I've spoken to that had the most complicated and hard-working audition to get the part, you've literally just won it. I mean, you absolutely won.
I accept my prize humbly and gratefully.
In better times, I will pass the trophy to you in person. That's really quite something. So by that point, you've already felt like you've definitely earned this role. Mm-hmm. At what point did you tell them you weren't American?
Well, I didn't. Because my agent had said, because I'd asked him that question when he said they're only auditioning, and I said, well, if I get this part, then what do we do? Because I said, I'm not very good at lying. I don't want to carry that. And he went, well, we'll tell them when you get it. So, of course, I then said, are you telling them now? And he went, let's just get the contract.
Oh, my word.
So then we got the contract, and I said, so are you telling them now? He said, well, they've just asked if you can go on breakfast TV tomorrow morning. Okay. So I'm going to go on breakfast TV. He said, well, just reduce your accent on breakfast TV. Already my head is aching.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm thinking, friends from drama school, my family, people are going to ring up and say, that's not her. I'm thinking, so I'm, never mind nervous about getting the part, being on breakfast TV. I'm nervous that I'm acting.
Yeah.
Not the role I was intending to act. So I'm doing it with a sort of slight transatlantic thing, and I'm going, oh, this is just whoa, you know. It's scary. It's full of pressure. So you see, I'm very well equipped to isolation.
Very well.
I've done scary. I've done living in my own tiny, weeny little world. I've done many of these things. My journey, my life is a very bizarre group of events, and that was not the least of them. And so they never found out through the whole of my filming. I told Colin eventually, because we became very good friends, and he'd invited me and the boyfriend from drama school, who was then my husband, to dinner. And I thought, I can't go to my friend's house and lie. That would just be so awful. You know, it felt so wrong.
Yeah, of course.
So I turned up, and so Colin met Scott, who had an American accent, and I was doing British, and he thought we were just fooling around.
Having a laugh. Oh, those crazy acting kids, look at them.
And then I told him, and he was like, wow, well, you know, hats off to you. You are amazing. I won't spill the beans. Although it was Colin who spilled them in the end, but he'd left the show by then.
Right, yes.
And so it was weird and wonderful. And physically, my face changed shape because you're using different muscles with a different accent that I was speaking for 18 hours of the day. So I would have real face pains.
That really is, that's astounding. Keeping up an accent that long. I can't lie, I've done it. I'm empathizing here. American though, I'm terrible. It's one I struggle with. I do Australian from morning, noon and night. I can do that. But American, hats off to you. That's really quite something. So given that you're already playing the part of Nicola Bryant, who is this American now, what was it then like to have to get on set and then take on and learn and be and perform this brand new character in this program?
It was easier than the bits off set. I mean, I fell in love with the character the minute I read the Planet of Fire script.
Yeah.
So, and that I was auditioning with parts of that script, and Eric was reading in as Peter. So I thought she was a feisty kid. I liked all that. But it was just the feeling of being so naive and inexperienced. I had no camera experience. I was at drama school, and in those days, that meant being on stage.
Yes, of course.
With the odd radio play.
Yeah.
And I just felt I didn't know anything. But John Nathan-Tan had a lot of faith in me, and he was very supportive. And you just have to go with the flow. And I was on a high. I think, you know, if anyone had taken a blood test, they would say this woman's got like an adrenaline pack in a little backpack full of adrenaline. Because I was like, wow, wow. Inside, I was in a constant state of wow, you know. And including during the auditions, they actually had a film crew in from Denver. I wish I knew what happened to that footage. If anyone out there has that footage, I've never seen it. I would love to see it. Because they were kind of hanging around on the filming of The American Companion. And I thought that stuff.
Good, great.
So I thought, okay, this is the point where they go, she's not real.
Yeah, yeah.
And the whole thing falls down. And I have to walk out, and then I'm blacklisted from the BBC, and you know, one can catastrophize these things.
Absolutely, absolutely. But there was no need to catastrophize
There
because
was not.
there you were, Planet of Fire. So Planet of Fire was your introduction and Mark's leaving story. How much of a welcome did you find on set on that first day?
Oh, amazing, amazing. We'd had like a brief get together, read through, and it's not like we could block it because most of it was in Lanzarote. But we did a read through of it, and everybody was just lovely. And I felt very grateful because this was the girl who only weeks earlier, which was now months, had said, I can't be an actor.
Yeah.
And I realised I had literally, somebody had heard me and gone, oh, can't have that happen.
Yeah.
So they put me into a family. I didn't have to join a competitive rep society where everyone was going to hate you every time you got that better role that, you know, it was so, wow, it's the best description of how drama school turned out to be, that last part. And I don't function well in that stuff.
No.
I function well on engaging with the director, talking with the director, feeling a part of a team, exploring, finding, digging deep, working hard, all of that, but not being scared into something.
No, of course, of course. So you found yourself in a family, which is wonderful and fairly rare, really, in television and in acting in general, to have that family. So you got that element. How much of being able to dig deep, work with the director, etc., did you find time for on Doctor Who?
Well, there wasn't a lot of time for that. It was come with your ready-made performance, the odd piece of directing, but mostly as doctor and companion, you're kind of left alone. It's mostly them dealing with everyone else who's coming in.
Right.
Though it did jump, of course, massively between my two stories from Fiona to Graham. Yeah. With this very hands-on, wow, this person's on the floor with us. Wow, he's talking to me face to face. It's not a voice in somebody else's headphones who passes a message to me, which may not be the same as the message that went there. It was really hands-on. So I think I responded better to that.
Yeah.
It was more theatrical.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, you just had to go onto the fast learning curve and go, this is telly, so this is how it works.
Of course, and Lanzarote is not a bad place for a first gig, is it?
No, it's a lovely place, but I was actually immediately homesick and nervous because I didn't have everyone to kind of go home to and say, okay, so this is what's happened with the day. It was all about, you had to make a very expensive phone call.
Of course.
Because that was how things worked then.
That's how they were. They were very expensive.
Hotel calling home.
Yeah, oh God.
Or home calling you, and it was expensive, so it was very short calls.
And you got you got the very, very glamorous photo shoot for the press with Peter done up as James Bond. I mean, I've got a fairly good idea whose idea that press call would have been.
Wasn't mine. I can give you that clue. Yeah, it wasn't mine. And of course, then they're running around Lanzarote, which is a limited venue, trying to find a white bikini. And the fact that they came back with one that didn't really fit me was tough luck, Nicola. You know, no, darling, you're joining in now. Yeah.
Yes.
So it was just, you had to do it. You know, that was it. That was my day off too. Our day off was spent doing interviews and photo calls.
Of course, that's a day off in TV land, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So you've been welcomed to the show, and then suddenly Peter's then leaving. You have, you know, suddenly gone. Did you know that when you took the role on that he'd be off fairly swiftly?
I didn't hear it from the production company, and you know, the memory fades slightly with the timing. I heard it on the television.
Oh.
So that was a bit of a shock. It was on like the news at 6 o'clock. So I heard it on the BBC News. And so I was kind of like, oh, I've got to go through this again. I've got to get used to someone else. And I've barely started to get to know Peter. I've realised my things are going to go bing all the time. Sorry about that.
That is fine. That's the first one I've heard. So
So, yeah, I was a bit nervous about it. And I was naive. I thought all the scripts were going to be like Caves of Androzani, and I thought this is a great one. And I loved Planet of Fire, but I had this real feeling that Caves was like this incredible fairy tale. And I didn't know a lot about reading television scripts. I'd read two. So I was really looking forward to having a lot more of that. But I thought that Peter had an incredible out story. And I was just looking forward to the next stage. And I thought, well, it's just like Rep. Every 6 weeks, you get a new cast.
Yeah.
So I was kind of geared up for that by drama school, that there would be this change. So I was just like, you know, my big mantra from then onwards was always, you can handle this. And you know, still is today.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So I was a bit kind of, I don't know what this is going to mean for me. But I wished I'd found out from John Nathan Turner. But I guess in the end, it was like a learning curve to understand that you are probably the most least important person there.
Yeah.
Had I been leaving, I could look back now with hindsight, this wasn't a thought that crossed my mind then, Colin would of course have known. But I wasn't important enough to tell. So I heard it on the news.
No, got you. Wow. So therefore, you then become the longest standing regular member of the cast to welcome Colin. I mean, that's kind of the shoe. Suddenly the shoe is very much on the other foot. How was that?
I didn't really take that on because I didn't think that was my job. In the sense that, wow, that would be a bit arrogant to assume, hello, I'm Nicola Bryant, you know.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nicola Bryant and I'm the companion in the show. Hey, let me show you how this all works, you know. Because that would make me a bit of a know-it-all. So I thought, this man's been in television for decades.
Yeah.
He's done many shows. What he doesn't need is an uppity American telling him how it works. So I just kept stum because I thought that's not my role. Whereas with hindsight and many conversations and Colin Baker becoming a very close friend, I found out that he did think I should do that. And he thought I was a bit cool not to.
It's
cool
that standoffish American again.
Yeah, she's a bit.
But I imagine a very different working relationship, different working kind of tempo. I mean, Colin and Peter brought so much, so many good things to that role, but so different, so wildly different. How does that affect you doing your thing?
Well, doctors and people, they are hugely different.
Yeah.
So it was a massive gear change, you know. But I thought, let's look at this logically. I'm still Peri going through this journey. Mm-hmm. So I don't change. I am still all the qualities that I have learnt that I have so far, which is courage, a little bit of foolhardy, you know, desire for adventure, you know, a little bit of a rebel.
Of course.
I am thoughtful and kind and independent because my family doesn't really care where I am during most of my holiday, it seems. So I was just thinking about all the qualities that I bring. I'm in tune with nature. I want to be a botanist. These are my qualities. I will think about this. So that's what I continued to think about. And then think about, what does it actually mean to have somebody change in front of you, to die, to reappear and be a completely different person? Okay, right. So if I'm not in an asylum within several hours of that event, where am I? I'm the same person, but I'm in some state of trauma. Mm. But the reality is you never get to play deep trauma as the companion, as a weekly series. You have to be the person who pulls themselves together, and you never get to actually do that trauma story.
No, well, absolutely right. Actually, on that note, talking of the times, we had a question, and it relates to that. So I'll bring it in now, because we threw it open to, just as we would if we were in a real convention setting. So thank you guys for sending questions in. The question I'm going to go to, this is from Stuart Chong. He's on the Gold Coast in Queensland. Stuart says, "Hi there, Nicola."
Hi.
he said, what's it been like to develop Peri in Big Finish and flesh her character out rather than the stereotypical companion that was the norm in television?
Well, yes, absolutely. Huge gratitude to Big Finish, and the deep joy of also not just fleshing her out, but fleshing 20, 30 years of her out.
Absolutely.
By doing the mature Peri, which I just loved the first time I got the opportunity to do that, and being able to look back at myself, so to speak, was a brilliant position to be in with Piscon Paradox. And to be able to have done more of that, to do more of that, is thrilling. And to also, on the flip side, have the ability to be eternally 18 years old.
Absolutely right.
You know,
absolutely right.
That's great. And to realise that this person is well over half my life.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I have barely ever stopped being Peri.
No.
So
we're happy with that. We're happy. I don't know about you, but we're happy with
that. I've been in Coronation Street for 40 years playing the same character.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Which it wouldn't have felt like that if we hadn't been able to go forwards and look at Peri in, 20, 30 years' time.
Of course.
So I'm hugely grateful for the extraordinary writers that Big Finish had brought on board and the incredible stories. And I look forward to exploring those until the wheelchair and the microphone are down here, and all the stories I have to project forward to a slightly different voice, baby.
You'll still be doing the accent. You'll still be doing the accent.
I will. And I still, when I go in, if I'm doing the 19, I raise the voice. And I know probably some people would rather I didn't, because they'd rather it was lower. But I keep it as authentic as I can to being a younger person.
Well, that's what a listener wants. I think that's what a listener is going to want. You want what you're imagining in your head is how it would have looked.
What you saw on the screen.
Absolutely right. So how was it to go back and revisit things that you never got to do from the cancelled season 23? You got to go back and have a look at some of those and revisit that. Did that kind of feel like closing a chapter in a way?
It was weird because I thought it was an inspired idea to do all of those. And I was very excited about doing them. And then I went, oh, okay. Yeah, but now we're going back to 1980s telescripts.
Yes,
and I really enjoyed moving away from that. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And we did make a few little tweaks. And it was very enjoyable to try and imagine that a lot of them, you think, oh, it would have been so hard to have. I mean, how are we going to get inside a whale? What kind of set would that have been?
Absolutely.
That was never going to happen, really. But with the BBC budget, the papier-mâché whale. And so, it was a very exciting thing to do. It reminded me how far, and everyone involved, I think, how far we'd come.
Yes. With
our scripts.
Yeah.
But there are some that you can go back and look at and you just think, wow, this really stands up.
Yes.
Of course, Caves is one of them. And I also feel very much, well, for all of Robert Holmes's writing, I think his stands up amongst many of the writers. And also Philip Martin.
Yeah.
I think, you see, my brain's going to go now. Now, what was that wonderful story where I become a bird? What's it called?
Why have I now forgotten? This is
we're under pressure. Because we're
very, very bad fan moment. And now I really have. This is me padding for time.
Okay. Come back to us.
Is
Benja Silvaros.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad you remembered.
Get that bit out.
Yeah, Ben, edit that. Oh yes, Nicola. Silvaros. That's what you mean.
Yes. So, I thought that was an extraordinary story as well.
Yeah.
Perhaps the little machine going down the corridors, the little truck, very slowly, is the only thing that dates it.
But there's always one thing. It doesn't matter how good there's always one thing,
There's always something.
Androzani is stunning, and then the magma beast turns up. There's always got to be one thing.
We should just get a black screen and the sound of a monster would be.
But that's it. But those things, funnily enough, you mentioned those things, but they don't completely kind of overrun what's essentially just fantastic storytelling that's at the heart of it.
Because you're in the story. That's what it is. And it feels to me like that annoying thing if you weren't watching the BBC and you get a commercial break, you're going, get me back in the story. Get me back in the story. You're literally just waiting to come back in. So Magma Monster, go away, get out of my, that's now not how I pictured you at all. You were much better than that. Go away.
Absolutely.
Now, get me back in the story. That's what you want.
And of course, Philip also wrote your Swan song with Mindwarp, or Trial of a Time Lord. I know, guys, Trial of a Time Lord. The Mindwarp segment, a very unusual story, and really quite something. Let's forget about the few weeks later and the pink love heart. Let's just focus. Let's focus on actually what was I thought a stunning ending, and as I understand it, that's the kind of thing that's the kind of high you wanted to go out on.
Definitely. And I remember Colin having a little sort of wink with me on the side, going, finally, you get to real voice and you get to do some great acting. And, but it was a very a special moment. And I feel very grateful for that too. I feel I was very lucky in my time to have had so many sort of great moments as Peri, and that definitely is one of them. And I always made the joke then that if I ever had to shave my head for a part, I wouldn't worry about it, because obviously I didn't look too bad.
Do you know, I can remember seeing it at the time, and I thought they've done that really, really well, because notoriously, that's not great, you'd often see a line, and I have to say on that one, because again, that could have been the thing that drew you out of the moment, but actually it didn't at all, and the whole thing was actually very, very shocking, and pulled off brilliantly, and finally you got all of 30 seconds not to do the American accent.
Yes, and to kind of really take the voice low and grab it, and I like this. Not using that voice. Yes.
It was wonderful, incredibly impactful, and actually still is, because of course the Blu-ray set came out earlier in the year, and it's a lovely set, and the stories look better than ever.
They do.
But has given people a chance to reassess that season. I think your final season. I'm not going to lie. It's anyone who knows me knows it's one of my favourite seasons, and I make no apology for that. People at home, I adore it. I always have done since I was a kid. I think maybe a large part of it was that it was the first one I could video record. We were late adopters of technology, you see, so I was able to kind of rewatch it and really, even as I say kid, I wasn't a kid. We were growing up, but that change in episode 1 straight away, you see Peri and the Doctor have such a different relationship. Yeah. This much warmer relationship, and it's lovely to see. It's a really nice. Suddenly they're just kind of sparring partners. It looks almost, having read you look at the script, it looks almost like it was written. You guys could have delivered that in quite a barbed way, as you previously had done, but actually.
It wasn't really on the page.
Yeah.
It was definitely a choice that Colin and I made. And
I'm going to say the right choice.
Only with each other.
Yeah.
And we just sort of briefly, sort of en passant, mentioned to JNT that we thought we'd imbue the passage of time, to which he went, yeah. And then he saw what we were doing. But by then, Colin and I had become very good friends, and we felt that we wanted to bring that quality into the story, and it made the way that she was going to leave the story even more heartbreaking.
Yes, of course.
And we just felt it was the only way to go. We didn't feel there was any other way to play it.
No, and I think absolutely spot on. You'd have got to the point where if she was constantly being strangled by the Doctor and they were constantly having fights, you would think being shot by Brian Blessed would be literally blessed relief.
Yeah.
I didn't plan that joke. That just came as it happened. I promise. That's not. I'll tell you what. I believe my dad's watching at home. Hi, Dad. He would love that. He's been given these. Given these moments that we're all trapped inside, he's resorted to sending dad jokes to the WhatsApp family group. So,
marvelous. Well done.
I think I won. That one's, you know, that one's pretty good. Talking of people at home, I have another question here.
Great.
And look at this. This has been a lovely chat, and I'm running out of time. So I'll go to this question, and it's lovely, and it's very pertinent for this week. This is from Andre Griffin.
Hi, Andre.
And he said, in memory of Patrick Troughton's 100th, and of course it was his, you know, would have been his 100th birthday earlier in the week. And this is, Patrick is Andre's favourite doctor. What are your fondest memories of your time working with him on The Two Doctors?
Well, the minute I found out we were going to have The Two Doctors, I started, you know, I was jumping up and down with glee, little Nicola inside.
Yeah.
It's because I just thought, I'm not a Who fan in terms of I can't produce all the information and details. I'm a Who fan in that I love Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I thought, how many companions have worked with 3 doctors?
Mm-hmm.
So I got to do a regeneration. So when I found out I was doing, my first thought after, oh no, Peter's going was, oh, I get to do a regeneration.
Absolutely.
Oh,
that's a big tick on the Doctor Who list.
That was on the books.
Yeah.
So I was like, God, I get to do regeneration. I get to work with Peter. I get to work with Patrick as well. So I was hugely excited when I found out that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And immediately, Colin and Fraser turned into this terrible double act. terrible, jokey. They should have been wearing baggy pants and, you know, twirling canes. It was a very strange double act where they were out comedying each other.
Right.
Out practical joking. And Patrick and I linked arms in the "Oh, not again" brigade. And mostly we were the source of the practical jokes. So that most of the things were, you know, played upon us.
Of course.
So we were I won't use the word victims, we were the receivers of the wonderful events. So, you know, there were so many things that, yet again, bizarre things that came together to create that strong bond between all of us, especially that we went filming, and as usual, there's not a lot of rehearsal time. We'd gone to go filming, but somehow that very important suitcase with wigs and makeup had gone missing. So, oh no. Oh no. So we now have to spend a day in the hotel in the pool.
Oh no.
Playing, I don't know what you call it, but that game where you kind of play volleyball.
Yeah.
Where I was on Colin Baker's shoulders, and I can't remember which way around Pat and Fraser were. And we just had a ball. We were just playing around a pool, having a laugh.
Whereabouts did you hide the suitcase full of wigs and teeth?
Under the bed. It was so easy. So easy. So, yeah, and that was great because we then had this extra time to get to know each other and extra rapport before we started filming, which is never a bad thing.
Never.
And, you know, too much of it could be, maybe, but it's easier to play the enemy of a friend.
Yes.
Makes sense. Although we didn't have to do much on the enemy acting, but it's easier to play nasty to somebody you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
Which actually came up when I was doing the Star Trek Continues, and I was being evil.
Yeah.
And Michelle, who I was acting opposite, was like, "You're really starting to scare me now."
That's the whole point. That's exactly it. So yeah, Star Trek Continues. That's quite something. Again, another. You know, I know that Colin's done it, and yourself. I mean, that's almost the definition of a labour of love, isn't it? Yes,
extraordinary work, and yet again, I was extraordinarily lucky because they didn't realise that I was interested.
Right.
And by that time, they were coming to an end, and there was only about 4 or 5, at most 4, maybe episodes left to film. And then they came back and said, "Would you like a double bill to play the finale villain?" And I'm like, Yeah, bring it on. So, yeah, I mean, and I was totally in squee mode, you know, get in the captain's chair, press the buttons.
Brilliant.
You are there. You are completely transported. They have done everything with this 100% professional thing. And when people go, it's amateur, and I go, you only mean that in terms of money.
Yes, that's it.
Everyone is a professional who's working on it.
Yes.
I mean, huge names involved in the show. Yeah, I was very pleased to do that. Very excited to be involved.
So what else is on the cards then? Once this is all over, what else is on the cards?
Well, I'm going through a bit of a metamorphosis myself.
Right.
My life is going through a huge change at the moment. And I've not been in a position to do a lot of work for about 20 years, really. Mostly health reasons. Mm-hmm. And those are improving. But I am in training and have been for a few months now for a movie.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So,
how much are you allowed to say? This is great news. How much are you allowed to tell me?
I've got permission from the producers to say a fair bit.
Okay.
So in training, to that I might add, I am 25 pounds, I'm using what most people work in, lighter in weight than I was when I filmed the box set.
Right.
Recently.
That is quite something.
Yeah. I've only done like 10 of that this year, so that's quite fast going, 10 this year. Mm-hmm. The rest of it was last year. I have the smallest role in the film, but I think it's the best. Of course I think that. It's a great role. I can't say much. But I can thank the producers, which I will now list, so I've got my little crib sheet here, because I'm going to give you the cast list.
Oh, please do, yes.
Because this is going to make you squeal. Okay, so my lovely producers are Sean Robinson, Dennis Davison, and Tyrone Edward. And I shall name first, my scenes are only with their own two-handers.
Yeah.
My scenes. So you won't know which one of these I may or may not be working with.
Okay.
Or which two or which three, possibly.
Yeah.
So, heading the cast is Sean Cameron Michael. Now, if you don't know his name, look him up. He is an amazing character actor. We then have Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Wow.
Damian Lewis.
Wow.
Ryan Cox.
Good grief.
Terence Stamp. James Cosmo. Don Warrington. Faisal Mohammed. Scott Eastwood. Andrew Scott.
Wow.
Sweeney and Peter Capaldi.
Good grief.
And that's the gentleman.
That's quite a list. Now, what else have we got? Now you're making me greedy.
Charlotte Rampling, who I'm a huge fan of.
Same. Wow.
And Rona Mitra. I should know that. So huge apologies to Rona. But okay, we three are the female cast.
How marvellous. That's, Nicola, that's really astounding. So when are we, well, I guess there's no way of knowing now when that might be sort of kicking
off. We're going to start filming in August.
Yeah.
But I don't know exactly when that will happen. But also, I can let you know something else.
Oh, please do.
So when I said turnaround, it's massive. I'm also about to be co-host of what I think is going to be the best factual, shall we say, the most fun show on television.
Right.
I can't
tell me more. Is that it?
Pretty much it.
I am intrigued.
I can't say any more, really, than that.
By both of these things. So actually, when this is over, so really, you kind of need to be making the most of downtime. Yeah,
I am. Yes, I'm getting skinny. That's what I'm getting. No, I'm so skinny. You can't really tell. But
okay, I don't want to. I don't mean to sound funny. There wasn't a lot to lose anyway. So please Lose no more. Lose no more. But if you want to send those diet tips my way, please do. Please.
You know, here's the great thing: I have not been hungry once.
That's good. Okay.
I'm doing health, not starvation.
Absolutely right. The way
health is the most important thing, and I'm really glad because I realised that my immune system was incredibly boosted before all this started because of the amount of green vegetables I gulp down every day.
Yes. Oh yes, I think it's going to be I love a green veg, but I also love crisps. So this is the problem.
I haven't had any crisps.
Nicola, listen, I'm supposed to be getting married this year. Due to this, that's been put off. We've put it off for a year. So my impetus to lose weight has now gone out of the window. So yeah, after this, we'll have a chat, and you can get me back on that weight loss bandwagon. I'm ready to jump on board.
I go health, and the thing is, I didn't know how much would move.
Yeah.
I'm not like, and I'm now pre-Lanzarote weight, which at my age is quite extraordinary.
It's absolutely brilliant. And for two brilliant sounding projects, I must say, you must be massively excited.
I'm very, very excited. Very excited. The show is extraordinary. And I think it's going to appeal to millions of people. It will be going worldwide.
Excellent.
I know the producers, I know the directors, I know my co-host, and I'm very excited. And I'm going to have
I don't even know what it is.
Out of control through most of it. It's literally like something. If I could have invented a show, it would have been my wish list show.
Excellent.
And so that, and filming this, which will lead to other things, and I can't say more than that, is hugely exciting.
Busy times ahead, I think. Busy times ahead. I've got one last question. Thank you so much for being with me today. I have one last question, and it occurred to me. Did you ever go back to the wine bar that you begged to help and say, look, this is what I was doing, and tell them and thank them for the fact that they got you that part and you could tell them it was Doctor Who?
I did, because I stayed living in the same place that I was in drama school for the first year or so of my filming. So I did. I went back and I sat in the bar, and it was my regular little bar. It mostly had a little Spanish guitarist in it and six stools. That was literally it. It was the tiniest place. And I would go and sit there and enjoy having a laugh with my friend, who I think his name was Steve. And unfortunately, I moved away, and lives move on. But yes, I did. And he was so chuffed. He felt like he was a part of that journey. And
he was.
He was.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, it's been absolutely wonderful. I could carry on talking all day, but you have a puppy. I've got cats locked in a conservatory that we need to let them have a run around. Nicola, one of them vomited on camera yesterday. We don't need that again. We need no repeat of that. So listen, thank you ever so much. Stay safe. Love to all the family. Absolutely. Stay safe. And one tip in isolation, you know, when the mad talk starts, I cannot get through this. I cannot just turn it down. Remember how powerful we are as human beings. Remember, if that we say something, it can become a wish-fulfilling prophecy. So from the beginning, I can handle this. I can handle this. Top advice from Nicola Bryant there. All of you at home, as you know my rules. It's time for a virtual round of applause. She may not be able to hear it, but damn it, she's going to feel it. So, Hughes, a massive round of applause for Nicola Bryant, please. Thank you, Nicola. It's been an absolute delight. Thank you, Andy. Take care. Cheers. Bye, everyone. Bye.